My people, I hope that all is well with you. Let's jump right into it. Look, you see the background, I'm in the new studio, getting everything dialed in for you guys for the next phase of the 100 Years of Wealth podcast and just media channel in general, but I hope all is well with you. Look, as you all have probably heard by now, JJ Redick has been confirmed as the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. My Los Angeles Lakers, my home team, the team that I was raised watching from a very early age, we're now headed by the great I don't know. We're headed by JJ Redick now, right? So look, I'm not gonna sit here and act like there's not a chance that he couldn't bring some sort of positivity or like some sort of positive addition to the team. Maybe he has something that he could show someone, right? So I hate to be like how most of the NBA media is, where it's just like they all strong opinions. There's no nuance. There's no, well, possibly, or maybe. It's just, no, he's going to be trash. He'll be out of there. This is I don't know, right? What I do think is that if we look at the history of the league, and at least the history of the Lakers as like a microcosm, usually new coaches are usually not that good. Simple. Even players that were great players that become coaches, a lot of times the success doesn't translate over. An example would be someone like Steve Nash recently, right? Steve Nash, brilliant mind, and I think that he's legitimately I don't want to say the word brilliant, but like a great basketball mind. You could see it in the way that he played. He was a point guard. He led his team. They were killing the league for a couple years, and he was the one orchestrating it. He, as a head coach, could not get it done. I don't think he's currently coaching a team, but he was coaching a couple years up in New Jersey and quickly got him out of there because it just didn't work. Not to say that no coach ever or no basketball player ever could make it as a coach, but I'm just saying that if that's going to be the case, or what I have seen work is players that become assistant coaches and spend some time in coaching that eventually make their way up, like a Jason Kidd, right? I don't know if he first went straight into coaching or if he was an assistant coach, but you've seen that in his history where he had a track record of coaching. I think prior to his first job, but at least prior to him actually having real success as a coach. I feel like, JJ Redick could have the opposite effect. He could come out right away, and because he's got a pretty good team already with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, he may see immediate success. I would think that for the fact that the way that you look at the team already, they've been struggling, even though they got into the play-in tournament last year, or they made it into the playoffs this last season and the previous season by the playoff tournament. I think people kind of forget that the playoff tournament meant you were outside of the playoffs going into the play-in tournament, right? Or going into the playoffs. So that's not really a good position to be in when you have two all-stars, and they're not just all-stars, just Anthony Davis and LeBron James. These are like, people that are number one options in the league, and they've been that way for many years, right? So with those two people there, and then also LeBron James really having full ability to point the finger and select players that he wants, and they made changes to their roster last season, mid-season, or right before the trade deadline, that everyone was celebrating, and it helped them get to the Western Conference Finals against the Denver Nuggets last year. And in the end, they came back the following year and kind of fell on their face and never had a consistent run. And they would show signs here and there, but it was just never enough to really push themselves into a consistency where they can compete in the Western Conference. So they fired Ham, I think it was Darwin Ham. They fired the coach, and in my perspective, it really wasn't the coach's fault. I think that there was probably times where you can look at certain decisions he made and think like, all right, maybe a more experienced coach wouldn't have done that, or maybe a more experienced coach would have changed the lineup already. I think that he's a little bit strapped on what control he has because of LeBron James. You know what I mean? Like, Like when Kobe was still playing in his last years, we knew Kobe as truly just a player. He played, and he may have had pull in the organization, but it wasn't on full display of him pulling and pushing and pulling to get things done, or kind of like over coaching the team or coaching the team over the head coach. While with LeBron James, you see that. You see a little bit of undermining the coach by Anthony Davis. You see a little bit of an undermining of the coach by LeBron James when he's having a podcast with who turns out to be the next coach. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's a different dynamic with LeBron James as your lead star, because he's truly trying to control a lot of things around the organization, whether he's doing it directly or indirectly through his manager, through pressure to sign someone, through playing the game of I'll leave and go somewhere else. So, those are the dynamics that a Darvin Ham or any coach that goes on to the Lakers is going to deal with. So with that being said, here we are now with JJ Redick. I think when I think of JJ Redick as a basketball player, I think he was a good player, right? Like, I think that he was he was like a lower level Klay Thompson with much less success. I don't know if JJ Redick was on a championship team or not, but as a player, his role was basically come off of a screen, take a 3-pointer, slash, dive, come around off of a screen, or off ball movement, get the ball, take a shot. I watched JJ Redick play. I know he was really much more of a dynamic scorer in college, but nothing about his play to me was really spectacular. I felt like he was a good shooter, and he can come off of a screen and move around and pop up and shoot the J really well. Besides that, visually, he didn't seem like such a dynamic player to me. I've heard him talk on podcasts. I've heard him talk on his podcast with LeBron James, him on Shaq's podcast. I've heard him do commentary for ESPN. Nothing that he said to me stands out as like brilliant commentary, or like that he's like a brilliant basketball mind, which is what everyone is saying now. Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. Smith, and I'm just like, dude, you guys are so quick to try to like endorse your friend. You know what I mean? Like, they're so quick to throw someone under the bus, cancel someone in this, not like the cancel culture, but cancel them in the sense of like, oh, they're trash, they're not gonna make it, and then that person bounces back, wins the finals or something, then they change their tune. So it's just really like, they lose a lot of credibility with these big statements of like, this person's brilliance, when it's like, what has JJ Redick done to represent brilliance? I could see that more being stated about some dynamic point guard that was a leader in the league, that was running his team and really like setting up plays, and his mind showed that type of brilliance on the court. Like if we want to talk about people that are playing currently, you got like Jalen Brunson, right? The way that he's operated in the playoffs for the New York Knicks, it might be a stretch, but if someone was like, oh, he's got a brilliant basketball mind, I'm like, all right, he's a point guard operating on the highest level. I see the plays he's making while being able to shoot, lead his team, has the passion, blah, 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 blah. But even then, I would still feel like brilliant basketball mind. You got to say some things, and you got to point some things out to me that are far above average, that the average person's not seeing or thinking. And to be real honest with you, I just haven't caught that yet. Maybe I've missed the statements. But what I do think is that the brilliant thing that he has done is play the game with LeBron James, right? So you ever have like, what's the thing? Don't outshine the master, right? Like, that's part of the 48 laws of power. Don't outshine the master, right? I think that's where his brilliance has shown. I think he had an objective to get into coaching. I think he knows, and everyone knows, that the one player that has more control over a team hiring a specific coach or even drafting a specific player is LeBron James, right? So he's been strategic, and this is just my analysis. I think he's been strategic and cognizant of the things he said over the years to, hope I'm saying the word right, ingratiate himself to LeBron James. My wife's an English major. I'm not, so don't check me on that. But basically make LeBron James think that JJ Redick thinks extremely highly of him, while and not just extremely highly of him, but also extremely highly of his intellect, right? How many people do you hear talk about themselves in the light of like, oh, I have such a high IQ. Oh, I have such a high basketball IQ. It's like, how about you just tell me the play or the thing, and then I'll decide how high IQ that is, as opposed to you shoving it down my throat and make it, I have to accept that you're brilliant or you're genius because you said so. How about you just tell me whatever thought you have, create something, show me something, and I will tell you, or I will, amongst the public that is actually receiving the information, be like, oh yeah, this dude's brilliant, man. That shit was crazy. It blew my mind. Not you pointing out the fact that LeBron James said something about like when he was 8 years old, he could flip a play, like if the play was, go off ball to the right side and pop up off a screen and revert, you could flip it and do it on the other side. Or my G, like, it's like, hey, how about you just explain to me how that works, and then I'll be like, wow, oh, you know what? I never thought about that. What a interesting take. What a unique perspective. Wow, this dude is really a savant, right? It's just annoying, and it comes off unauthentic and disingenuous when you have to point out to people that you're a genius. But anyways, I think that the brilliant thing that JJ Redick did was play into that, right? And I'm sure they have multiple conversations where JJ's like, yeah, LeBron, you really are smart. You're brilliant. And LeBron's like, yeah, you think so? And next thing you know, they're talking about getting a podcast together. And, like a lot of times when I'm watching the podcast, LeBron will start saying something, JJ's just kind of sitting there, I feel like JJ Redick is much more articulate than a LeBron James. Not that was a comparison, but my point is that I feel like at times where you're hearing LeBron James be very inarticulate and just not really well thought out with his words, like when he was over there trying to Kyrie Irving, and he's like, I just sometimes I have such great things to say about him. Sometimes I don't have things to say about him, and JJ's just like, okay. I'm like, wow, dude, like. My man, you're just not that good on the mic. You'll say things that just make you look like a complete douchebag. But anyways, back to JJ Redick. So my point in all this is that I think JJ Redick did a great job of making LeBron James think that JJ Redick highly respects LeBron James' basketball IQ. When maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but I think the key to what I'm saying is that he made LeBron James feel that he was highly respected by JJ Redick enough to say, hey, I could see you as the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Whether that's because he thinks that JJ Redick is going to really go along with everything he says and there's going to be no argument there, or if it's because he really thinks that JJ Redick has some sort of advanced viewpoint on basketball that's going to actually propel the Lakers forward. I think LeBron James has been terrible at choosing players to come and play with him, right? When he pulled for Carmelo Anthony to join the team with him, I think that was like such like a bad decision, but such like a homey decision. Like, oh, I'm gonna try to pull for you, and I like you. I think you're good, bro. Let's see what happens. As opposed to being like, the reality of it is that you got a great shot, but you're probably past your primes in different areas of the game that are only gonna hurt our team that hasn't been able to get back to the finals or win a championship since the bubble. And the bubble, obviously, like it's questionable if that one can really be counted. Obviously it's counted, but as you see, just on that note, you see how Kyrie Irving was getting booed and the Boston Celtics fans were all in his head. You're gonna tell me that traveling back and forth to different arenas doesn't matter in this league, and that a championship where you don't have to do that and don't have to deal with opposing fans, you're gonna tell me that that you can treat the bubble ring and that ring the same? No, it's just no. Kyrie Irving had people drowning out the stadium talking about he sucks. And as strong mentally as I think he thinks he is, or as many people would want to believe that they are, when you have, I don't know how many people are in their stadium, 20,000, 30,000 people yelling that you suck every time the moment you touch the ball, you walk onto the court, you walk off to the court, you touch the ball, that's going to get in your head. You're going to have a really strong mind. But my point is that there's no way you can say that the bubble championship was comparative or comparable to normal championships. You can say, if you say on a scale of 1 to 10, the pressure of a normal championship, or a normal, going back and forth, let's say it's a 10, right? Pressure of the bubble without opposing fans, without travel back and forth, without having to deal with your family trying to get seats and tickets to the arena and all that. On a scale of 1 to 10, which one has lower pressure, stress, and a lesser of dynamic of evil fans saying evil to you? Come on! Anyone that tries to argue the bubble is just as hard or harder, you're just a bullshitter. I like logical people. Yo, the 100 Years of Wealth gang, we're logical, my G. Logical. But anyways, let me go ahead and wrap this up for you guys. So look, I'm going to always root for humans in general. I wish JJ Redick all the success. I don't dislike the man. I think he is a reflection of how cornball LeBron James is and how easily duped LeBron James is. I would be highly surprised if this turns out to be like a successful run. Maybe there's some trade coming that I'm not aware of. Maybe that could push them into a different direction, but I definitely don't think that JJ Redick becoming the Lakers coach will do anything to push them forward, to move them out of struggling or to get in, like last 2 years they're in the play-in tournament. Do I think that him being the coach is going to move them out of play-in tournament and put them in, let's say, a strong 6th seed and above? I don't see it happening. You'd have to ask yourself, what things is JJ Redick going to bring to the table? Now, LeBron James might respect him and be okay with having him as a coach because he already knows that JJ Redick ain't going to say shit to him. Now, other players that may or may not really be sold on JJ Redick, to have him come in and start to try to push your buttons to motivate or, work with you, it's a crazy dynamic. There's players on that team that are making more money than JJ Redick that have been in the league while JJ Redick's been out of the league, that feel like maybe they're better than JJ Redick and don't really respect what he, you know what I mean? Like if the vast majority of people in the NBA lexicon and metaverse, spear or whatever, if they are like, I can't see this being a smart hire, how do you think the players feel, right? I think most players are going to be a little bit like, it's not even anything personal with JJ Redick. When you have a coach with no experience and you're trying to come in and get adult men that are multimillionaires to do what you say and buy into your logic, when LeBron James, in my mind, isn't really that great of a leader himself. You see him when he sees another player that doesn't do what he wants or didn't do something that he wants on the previous play, hands are up, he's walking back slow, he's pouting. You know what I mean? When J.R. Reed missed the shot or didn't call the timeout in Cleveland, he's on the court, and I get being frustrated, but there's a way to do it without breaking down your teammate, right? Without demonizing and demoralizing your teammate. So my point is I think that there's growth that he has to have to be a better leader, and I think he's on the way out, right? So my point is if the guy that LeBron isn't really that great of a leader, maybe younger guys, it's easier for him to lead because they all just look up to him and it's real easy for them to follow because it's LeBron James, he has all the success in the league, etc. But like with other players, he hasn't shown that, or even just as a general leader with the team, he hasn't always shown that. And when he puts someone in position to now tell you what to do, like, hey, my guy is going to tell you what to do and start running the show, and they're going to move all the assistant coaches out, and he's going to start bringing in all his guys, like, Dude, that's a rocky ship. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even trying to say like this is just reality. You know, that's like if you move a whole staff from one company, like let's say that you have a manager of let's say Taco Bell. Taco Bell is running smoothly or running or whatever, doing what it's doing, and then you just remove the whole team and bring in a whole another management team to manage the same employees, right? Those employees are gonna be like, hey, what happened to Joe? Joe was cool. I used to work with Joe every day. We used to do this over there. Now you got Jim. What's Jim? Hey, what up, Jim? All right. You know what I mean? Hopefully it all goes smooth, and hopefully for everyone involved, it's just a smooth transition. But the likelihood of that happening, at least in the first year or so, is gonna be tough, you know? But I wish them all the success. Yo, in the comments, tell me what you guys think. Is this a good move for the Lakers? Did JJ Redick play LeBron James to get this position? I think so. I think that he played the kiss ass game a little bit. He played the, oh, you're so smart, I love the way you think game, which is pretty savvy. And I think if you're really trying to put yourself in a certain position, you do that. And if you look at the contract he signed, I think he signed a 4-year agreement, right? You sign a 4-year agreement, that is meaning that the Lakers, outside of LeBron James, feel like they want to keep you, because I don't think LeBron James will be here in 4 years. But, you know, he's such an egotistical maniac. If he can put up 15 or 20 points, he might still hang out and just, you know, weigh the Lakers down like a anchor. 100 years of wealth. You know, like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Tell me what you think of the new studio space. Getting this cracking, man. I've been working on this. I DIY'd this all myself. I'm gonna put a video up showing you guys what I did: drywall, electrical, paint, you know, all that, man. We gotta do it ourselves sometimes. But hey, like and subscribe. Go check out some of the other videos. Where the views at on the other ones? Subscribe, and if you haven't subscribed, you're cheap, right? You're not willing to spend that one finger button, right? It only costs you one finger on the button. All you gotta do is press it, but you're being cheap with that finger, dude. Come on, don't be a cheapie. Like and subscribe, 100 years, stay up.